Vegetarianism is, I would say, सब लोगों के लिए easy तो नहीं होगा, but it's most definitely the most powerful way, the quickest way, the simplest way, if you want to make a difference in the world, if you want to make a difference in your own internal health of body, mind, soul, spirit. It's definitely the simplest and most powerful and most impactful and direct way. Every day, tens of thousands of people die of starvation. And yet, we actually produce enough grain. Anaj means rice and wheat and corn and soy to feed every single person on earth, to feed 10 billion people. But the problem is that globally, about 70% of our grain, in America it's about 90%, globally it's about an average of 70%, of our grain doesn't go to people. It goes to the animals who we are going to kill to eat as hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken.
नमस्ते।
जय गंगे।
आज मैं बहुत सौभाग्यशाली हूँ कि मेरी मुलाकात साजी सरस्वती भगवती जी से हुई है। और आप सब लोग जानते हैं कि वो एक स्पिरिचुअल लीडर हैं, डिवाइन शक्ति फाउंडेशन के प्रेसिडेंट हैं और वेरियस वर्ल्ड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट करती हैं। साधी जी, मुझे मालूम है कि आप अमेरिका में आपकी परवरिश हुई है और आप अमेरिका प्राय नॉन वेजिटेरियन कंट्री है और सब लोग प्राय नॉन वेजिटेरियन फूड खाते हैं। तो मुझे मालूम है कि आप वेजिटेरियन हैं। तो क्या आपने वेजिटेरियनिज्म इंडिया में आके अडॉप्ट किया या शुरू से वेजिटेरियन थी?
मैं बचपन से वेजिटेरियन, मतलब जन्म से तो नहीं, मेरे परिवार नॉन वेज खाते थे, लेकिन मेरी शुरू से खाने में बहुत दिक्कत हुई. Like I never, even from early childhood, was able to eat meat in a way that was sort of normal. I always would need my mom to cut it up into little pieces, lots of sauce, in a sandwich, in a salad. But the taki, it was sort of hidden. And then at the age of 15, 15 साल की उम्र में, बस अचानक, just like that, one day I realized that this is not food. That this animal on my plate, it is not food. Like the plate is not food, like the table is not food. In that moment, it was just suddenly I realized, ये तो खाने की चीज नहीं है. उसमें जीव है. There's life in this. This is a living being. This is not something for me to eat. So 15 साल की उम्र से, since that time of age 15, I've been a vegetarian. I've actually been a vegan, meaning not only no meat or fish or chicken or eggs or those things, but also no milk products. जब मैं भारत में आई, ऋषिकेश आई, और देखा कि गौ माता आश्रम में कैसे इतना सुंदर सा परिवार की तरह रखते हैं, and that all of the milk that comes from the cows in the goshala is milk that comes only after their babies have already drunk. That the babies stay with the moms. That nobody is harmed at all. It's that, the babies drink the milk or jo bachche huए hum log peete hain. So coming here, I started drinking milk again. But I still only drink it either here at Parmarth Nikatan, or if I'm somewhere where kisi ka apna goshala hai ya gar mein they have their own cow, in some way where I know where that milk is coming from. Because otherwise, अगर आप देखेंगे even जो बड़े-बड़े कोई भी milk company, खासकर विदेश में, लेकिन मैंने पता लगाया कि अब भारत में दुर्भाग्य से ये स्थिति भी शुरू हो रहा है, that the big dairy production houses, वो हिंसा है. It's violence. If you see the way that the cows are treated, it's violence. And especially in America, the milk industry and the meat industry are connected like this. The babies that the milk-giving cows give, those babies become veal. Or they become, they're grown and then they become hamburgers. But so the two industries, if you don't eat meat, but you drink milk, you're still supporting the meat industry. So आज मुझे ये लगता है कि vegetarian तो होना है. But if you're also looking at it from a perspective of violence and non-violence, you actually also have to be vegan unless you have your own cow or you're getting milk from somewhere where the cows are treated very well and they're not killed and they're not harmed and all of that.
प्राय अभी इंडिया में चूंकि विलेजेस है और गौ पालन करते हैं, हमारी धार्मिक
Yes, exactly.
गाय से जुड़ी हुई है, तो प्राय जब मेरी गाय का दूध
हाँ, of course.
उसी
वो तो अमृत है. आयुर्वेद में लिखा हुआ है अमृत है दूध. लेकिन वो दूध अमृत है जब हम गौ माता को अपने माँ समझे और इसी तरह से उनका केयर टेक करते हैं.
नहीं, पर मैं ये मानता हूँ कि जो आपने जो इनिशियल स्टेज में नॉन वेजिटेरियन थी और आपके अंदर भावना आई और फिर आप वेजिटेरियन बनी और भी आप वीगन रही और उसके बाद आपने भारत में वेजिटेरियनिज्म को, तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा अचीवमेंट है. आज के यूथ एंड यंगस्टर्स की ऐसी मान्यता होती है कि भाई हम नॉन वेज भोजन से ही हमारी न्यूट्रिशन मिलेगा, हमारे को नॉन वेज भोजन ही हमारी अनिवार्य है और वेजिटेरियन कोई पनिशमेंट है या कुछ. दे फील लाइक,
देखिए जो मीट इंडस्ट्री है, it is one of the biggest, most wealthiest industries, and I don't know about in India, but I know that in America they've got one of the biggest and most powerful lobbies. So for example, United Nations ने एक research की और एक document publish की titled Livestock's Long Shadow. Livestock's Long Shadow. इसका मतलब है कि what are the impacts of animal agriculture? What are the impacts of the meat industry? And in that United Nations report, it's written that the meat industry, the cows, the pigs, the chickens who are raised to become hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken McNuggets, that this industry is the single greatest contributor to climate change, single greatest contributor to global warming. But has anybody heard of that study? किसी ने कभी कहीं सुना उसके बारे में? उनके लॉबी ने इतना साइलेंस किया. अगर आप गूगल में जाओ, you can find it, you can download it. But that's the type of thing that would have been international news. United Nations proclaims meat industry single greatest contributor to climate change. मतलब बहुत बड़ा न्यूज़ है. लेकिन कहीं ऐसे छपा नहीं हुई. Because the meat industry has got such a lobby. So I mention that because जैसे आपने कहा कि लोगों को लगता है कि we need to eat meat, we need the protein, we need the minerals or vitamins, this or that. This is all from the propaganda. This is all from the money that is spent in advertising to convince people that that is what they need. But the real research actually shows otherwise.
नहीं, ये आपने ठीक है, क्योंकि मेरी भी ऐसी मान्यता है क्योंकि हमारा फाउंडेशन भी सस्टेनेबल काम कर रहा है, तो मैं कहता सबसे पहले तो हम ये फूड हैबिट्स पे चेंज कर लें और इसकी एजुकेशन यूथ यंगस्टर्स को बतला दें कि भाई मीट खाने से सस्टेनेबिलिटी के ऊपर इम्पैक्ट होता है और इसी वेजिटेरियन बन जाते हैं तो हमारी बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम जो है
Everything. देखिए, चाहे आप climate change के बारे में सोचते हैं in terms of actual emissions of carbon, emissions of methane. The meat industry is the huge contributor to that. The amount of carbon dioxide that is produced through the meat industry is the equivalent of if you drove your car non-stop, morning till night till morning, 24 hours a day for 3 weeks. That's how much they are emitting. The destruction of the rainforests, which, I mean, the rainforests are the lungs of the world, you can say. They actually produce about 20% of the oxygen. They absorb about 20% of the carbon dioxide, and they store and then give about 20% of the world's water. But the rainforest is being deforested at the rate of about 1 acre a second. Up soche. Like this. Acre by acre by acre by acre. Kis cheez ke liye? To graze the cows who will become hamburgers. So whether it's the clear cutting of the forests, whether it's the actual methane emissions, all of that is one of the greatest contributors, the single greatest contributor. If you look at water, because of course when we talk about the environment and sustainability, one aspect, of course, a major aspect is climate. Another major aspect, separate but interconnected, is water. We are on the verge of having a massive global water shortage. The United Nations estimates that by 2040, the world will have only half the drinking water it needs. The amount of water that goes into the production of one meal of beef. Matlab, you sit down for hamburgers with your family. The water that goes into the production of that beef. First they grow the food for the cows, then the cows eat it, then the cows drink water, then the cows are bathed, then the cows are killed, and they need all the water to remove the blood and feces and urine, all of that. All of the water that goes into that. One meal of hamburgers is about 10,000 liters of water. About 2,500 gallons, about 10,000 liters. Now, agar aap roz nahate hain, sabhi roz nahate hain, lekin agar aap balti ke bajaye, upar se like a shower, and you shower for 8 minutes a day, the amount of water you will use in bathing in 6 months is the same amount of water that goes in one meal of hamburgers. Iska matlab, agar aap beef khate hain, तो हर बार कि आप हैमबर्गर्स खाते हैं, क्या आप 6 महीने के लिए बिना स्नान रहने के लिए तैयार हैं? If you are not prepared to go 6 months without bathing, it means you cannot offset that water. Now chicken is about 1/3. Means you have to just not bathe for 2 months if you have a meal of chicken. So whether you look at climate change, whether you look at water, you look lastly at food. Every day, tens of thousands of people die of starvation. Many of them children. About 1 billion people sleep hungry every night. And yet, we actually produce enough grain. Anaj means rice and wheat and corn and soy to feed every single person on earth, to feed 10 billion people. We don't even have 10 billion people. There is no reason for anyone to go hungry, let alone die of starvation. But the problem is that globally, about 70% of our grain, in America it's about 90%, globally it's about an average of 70%, of our grain doesn't go to people. It goes to the animals who we are going to kill to eat as hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken. If we took our grain and we fed people, we make bread, we make chapati, we make pasta, we make rice, not one person will die of starvation or go hungry. It takes 16 times as much grain to make 1 pound of beef than 1 pound of grain. So for 1 pound of meat, you need 16 pounds of grain. For 1 pound of bread, you need 1 pound of grain. 1 pound of chapati, you need 1 pound of anaj. 1 pound of rice, you need 1 pound of rice, anaj. For 1 pound of beef, you need 16 pounds of grain. इसका मतलब है कि every time you choose meat, you are saying, I deserve the food for 15 other people. 15 लोगों को भूख से मरने दो. मुझे उनका खाना दे दो, क्योंकि मुझे मांस खाना है. अब आप बताओ, कौन सी धर्म, what religion, what spirituality, what view of the world in any way tells us that we deserve the food of 15 other people? What ethics, what values, what morals would make anybody feel entitled to let 15 people go hungry so they can eat beef? So whether you care about climate or water or food or hungry children, you have to go vegetarian.
I think you explained very well. और यदि इस पर्सपेक्टिव को लोग समझेंगे तो डेफिनेटली इनर टीम को बोलेगा कि भाई इसको चेंज कर, और कुछ थोड़े भी चेंज हो जाए तो फूड सिक्योरिटी प्रॉब्लम खत्म हो सकती है और सस्टेनेबिलिटी की प्रॉब्लम खत्म हो सकती है और वी कैन कंट्रीब्यूट समथिंग टू द सोसाइटी एट लार्ज. लास्ट ही आपसे पूछूंगा कि आप एक आध्यात्मिक लीडर हैं और हमारे शास्त्रों में, हमारे गुरुजनों में कहा है कि भाई अपने आप से जुड़ने के लिए सबसे पहले मन को शांत करना मेडिटेशन के थ्रू, और वेजिटेरियन फूड जो है वो हमारे मन को संतुलन अच्छा था, जिससे जैसा खाए अन्न वैसा हो. आपका क्या शॉर्ट मैसेज है?
तो एकदम सच है, एकदम सच है. You can have the most expensive, beautiful car in the world. सबसे सुंदर नया नया मर्सिडीज ले लो या रोल्स रॉयस ले लो या कोई भी गाड़ी ले लो, या सबसे महंगी एयरप्लेन ले लो. गाड़ी तो छोड़ो, ठीक है, एयरप्लेन ले लो. But if you stick mud into the petrol tank, into the diesel tank, into the gas tank, it's not going to go. In the same way, you can be doing the most wonderful work for your body, for your mind, but if you're filling your tank with junk, the body is not going to be healthy, the mind isn't going to be healthy, nothing will be healthy. I think it was George Bernard Shaw who said, why would I want to make my body a graveyard? You want your body to be full of life, not full of death.
So can we conclude that vegetarianism is the easiest way to be happy, cheerful?
Vegetarianism is, I would say, सब लोगों के लिए easy तो नहीं होगा, but it's most definitely the most powerful way, the quickest way, the simplest way. If you want to make a difference in the world, if you want to make a difference in your own internal health of body, mind, soul, spirit, it's definitely the simplest and most powerful and most impactful and direct way.
Thank you very much. आपने बहुत ही अच्छी से समझाया. I hope it is useful to you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jai